Shit. Alright, code hire rules, interpretation, freight, effective April 1st, 2001, governing the settlement of the freight cars of prudencies, auto rack, superstructure owned with the railroads between all common carrier railroad except as provided in Appendix B. Rules apply to prudencies in the same manner as they do in the freight cars, as you for these rules for the terms prescribed and rate. Fixed rates and synonymous are the terms of the non-prescribed rate and the market rate with the Appendix E with the Surface Transportation Board regulations concerning the car hire. Rule 1, registration rate. All UMLR registration, individual freight cars and prudencies shall be registered with the UMLR, maintained with the assistant vice president for the business, or with the secretary of railroad must furnish the secretary complete with the accurate UMLR data on all its cars and prudencies used with the interchange of the commerce will serve with the invitation received with the secretary by the latest day working day of the month, except for the date transferred requiring the data of the entry of the AAR staff must receive with the 25th day of the month will be effective with the first day of the subsequent month of the when data submitted by the UMLR do not meet the completeness and the accuracy added with the perform in the business with equipment will not be eligible for car hires. B. Rate master register with equipment registered with the UMLR will be registered with the car hire accounting rate master with a file with will submit with the UMLR data file with them complete when it's accurately edited performed with the business or with the car will be registered with will be zero rated until the first day of the month following the month in which says the day of the correct with each with the delete with the UMLR file with the given the month will be retained for the least effective rates through the following month. 2. The cars registered under transportation code S, SX, XA, XV, and YA are not eligible for the car hire earnings will be assigned to zero rate. C. Rates and registration. As you for these rules, car hire rates mean for the use of the freight cars and prudencies are recorded in the car hire accounting rate master file maintained with the business service in order to collect the higher rates. In order, owner must register within the secretary specified in paragraph A and B. D. Prescribed rate for the grandfather boxcar. If the paragraph apply with the grandfather boxcar rate, if the possessional rates under Ex Parte 234, if the subpart 19 is prescribed, and so Surface Transportation Board, the Surface Division will compute with the rate of the time by hour and the actual hour mileage charge specified by the car hire rate table. The appendix to be in the record for the UMLR file will enter the time enter them in the car hire accounting rate master chart file. The car owned with a lease for the Class 3 railroads bearing on the Class 3 railroad mark shall be entitled a special car hire rate under the Ex Parte 346 Part 19 is described in Title 49, 1039, 14C and Point 14C 3. It is also boxcar described in Title 49, 1039, 1039.14C 2. Owners whose cars are entitled with a special rate will be given notice to the secretary with the car with entitled with the rates under that order. The market and prudency rate. The paragraph applied with the rates of the freight cars and prudencies not described in the Surface Transportation Board. The prudency rates are specified in the prudency rate table Appendix F will be made with the use of the railroad own lease the multiple level outrack superstructure built and rebuilt prior to January 1st, 2016. Prudency rates are specified in the prudency rate table Appendix T shall be made with the use of the railroad own lease multiple level outrack track superstructure built and rebuilt January 1st, 2016. Market rates be loaded in empty staff must be based on the time of the hourly actual line haul mileage, any of the combination thereof. See Rule 25 with prescribed establishing such rates. After the adjustment of prudency rates, when the owner of that makes the evaluation of the correction of the UMLR file, such change with the results of the retroactive decree for the prudency rate, the secretary will be notified the ones for the car that have been reported to the UMLR file. Any of the changes that result in the retroactive decree for the prudency rates will be identified by the secretary of prudency. Owner will be required to furnish the secretary of prudency for the change as a result of the actual decrease of advice for the any applicable prudency rate adjustments, which are required within 5 minutes from the day of the change. If the owner will notify the using of the carrier such decrease, so they will either supporting detailed summary of the overall collections, including penalty of 30% of the total overall collection statement of the amount $25 less than should be issued as receiving such notification, and the responsibility of the using carriages to deduct such amounts to their next open car. The hire report with the car prudency owner with the secretary does not receive the owner's insurance having notified with the use of the collected amount for the 5 months. Secretary shall circulate with the industrial providing with the car initial number that's involved with the user that make their own deduction plus 60% penalty. 2. If the roads in process is recorded data, the correct efficiency will have the result of the retroactive decrease for the prudency rates having been identified by the AVP Business Service Division with the secretary discovered the AAR audit staff of the equipment set committee will review the magnitude of the deficiency identified through the secretary of the AAR audit staff of the railroad. The road's reason of the failing to reprocess the car record data and hold the vote of the members to determine whether the order of the audit is under the provision in Appendix L that is defined in the car hire rule number 6 for the entire cost of the audit will be paid by the deficient road. Provision paragraph 1 relating to the reimbursement with additional amounts will not apply to Class 3 which switching roads except for the cars of their own ownership may be involved. G. Responsibility of the car to deliver to the non-subscriber. In the event of the non-subscriber does not pay for the car to the hire owner, the subscriber interchange freight cars to the non-subscribers, including common of the carrier of the water, shall pay with the car hire rates applicable to paragraph B, D, and E. While such cars for the possession of the non-subscriber, the cars that are again interchanged for the subscriber, the evidence for the official of the interchange created with the LCS. Alright, default rate. Section 8 apply with the subscriber for the waste of the non-negotiated distributed rate. If it does not apply with the former's fixed rate cars with formally prescribed rates became default rates on January 1st, 2003. The car does not have negotiated with the attributed rate, but it will be assigned the default rate actually the lowest renegotiated positive rate, but in fact the equipment type at the end of the previous core, but the termination equipment rate will be based on the 4-digit equipment type code, if not on the 3-digit equipment type code, if not the 2-digit equipment code. If there's no 1-digit type code, once the default is applied, it will remain in effect for the life of the car. Such the exemption of the paragraph A, B, and C with the cars registered in Mueller effective July 31st, 2000. Paragraph D with the registered with the June 30th, 2005. The effective rate paid by the one railroad to another will be default with the rate until suspended by a rate established through negotiation and arbitration decision. An applicable default rate will be applied to the car and Mueller registration cars after cars movements have been reported to the Train 2 Liability Continuation System or LCS. The evaluation of the car accounting responsibility comparison with the current equipment type code or Mueller code will be made at equipment type of the code given with the Mueller registration. The equipment type code but previously applied with the default rate shall apply with if the different associated default with the current type of the shall be made become the default rate of the car effective no later than 31 days after the closing of the first activity of the month. B. A car owner may make the request the default rate with a charge on the car with a serious likelihood of the cars due to the improper registration of the equipment type code. The request may be filed with the Secretary of the Association of American Railroad by the docket of the Equipment Asset Committee for study whether the car carried a proper equipment type code with specified with the Mueller data specification to be docked. The request must provide with the current Mueller data for the cars and the background information. Upon completion of the study, the car owner will notify the Secretary of the committee. Decision will be decided in a simply majority vote. If the change is approved by the Association of American Railroad, will apply the car's current data rate applicable to decide equipment type code with the first day of the month following the decision committee with the request is denied. No change will occur. Any subscriber you with the freight cars owned with the railroad may make the written request for the default rate with a change within the car series, but the likelihood the request will be filled with the Secretary AR with the car owner, but the Secretary will apply with the car owner with a written note of the request. The owner will be permitted with the 30 days following the notice of notification to provide the written response back to the Secretary. The request will be with the document with the associated equipment asset committee to further study whether the car is carried on proper equipment. The type of the code is specified in the Mueller data specification. The document a user request must provide with the Mueller data of the car and background information supporting the position of the default rate is not appropriate for the equipment. Upon the completion of the study, the user requests the change of the car owner will be notified the Secretary of the committee decision. This will be decided in a simple majority vote. If the current changes cover the Association of American Railroad will apply to the current car for the current day of the applicable to decide the equipment type of the code with the first day of the month following the decision with the committee. The request is denied. No changes will occur. When the cars occur in an advanced month of year built date with the end of the Mueller no movement event is reported with the Train 2 with the determined liability continuation system. For the car within 18 months of the day the cars were added with the Mueller, if the initial default the rate was assigned with the car was reset with the default rate within effect with the equipment type of the first month following the month of the car has been Mueller for the minimum of a full 18 months. After every quarter thereafter, the default rate will reset the current rate and effect with until movements of the report in Train 2 for that car. 18-month period expired with the car owner may request that the default initial assigned but the car is continued for the extent period according with the subparagraphs 1 and 4. The party requesting the time extension shall submit the brief of the Association Vice President of the Business Secretary Division of the AAR outlining the reason of requesting time extension in the months being requested. 2. Upon the brief of the Secretary will forward with the brief EAI EAC chairperson. The chairperson will form the three-member technical advisory committee group to review the relief. 3. In order to grant extension of the technical advisory group must find that the letter of the intent with the contract built when the purchase is executed prior to the request for the extension no later than 18 months for the registration, and B. The building of the car has delayed due to the cover that could not have been reasonably anticipated. 4. The technical advisory group will govern the following. The party requesting extension cannot be a member of the technical advisory group. The technical advisory group cannot contain parties' clarification statement to state the relief. The technical advisory group will reach an agreement majority decision to either 1. Grant a time extension requested, 2. Grant a time extension for the different length of the required, or 3. Deny the time extension. D. The technical advisory group must provide a decision within 30 days of the appointment. The technical advisory group will forward the decision to the secretary. The secretary will ensure the appropriate action to take it immediately to the technical advisory group decision. If the extension is granted, no movement of the report of the train to over the final day of the extension period, the day of the rate of the car shall be reset in accordance with paragraph D of this rule. I. Merge railroads and payable receivable car hire rate application. The merger of the two of the railroad occur of the car hire rate applicable is filed. Payable the rates on foreign equipment. If only one of the merging roads continue to exist for the merge that is not notify the AR in 60 days in the advance of the merger date of the road continues to exist. At the time of the merger, railroad must also state with the responsible to negotiate the rates for the permanent merge properly, because sale will be the part of the merger roads till merger date. The AR will then notify other railroads of the election at the merger. The pay rates of the roads will continue to exist or will apply except the rates previously paid with the non-existent railroad no longer apply with it unless they had been the rate of the end date of the rails. The rates of the end dates will continue to apply to the merged property. But if each of the merging roads have the rates from the end of the day, if they affect the same car, the car owner will determine the rates of the dates will apply with the date of the merger. The AR will provide with the car owner with the listing of the car for the multiple rate for the end date for the sum of the same cars. The car's owner on the respond with the AR within 15 days of the notification from the AR. The car owner does not respond with the AR within 15 days following the notification. Payable rate of the applicable the merging road will continue to exist after the merger will become the rate at the end of the days. And C. If the arbitrator will apply with the merger promptly provided with the non-existent railroad did not have the attributed rates with the same car with the date of the merger. If non-existent railroad have the attributed rate, those rates will be applied with the market with the rates for the merge properly. The merging of the railroad continues to exist if the merger did not have an arbitrated rate with the same car with the date of the merger. Each of the merging roads have attributed rates with the effect of the same with the car. The car owner will determine the attributed rate will apply with the market rate with the date of the merger. The AR will provide with the car owner with the listing cars for the multiple arbitration decision. The car owner will respond to the AR within 15 days of the following notification from the AR. The car owner does not respond to the AR in 15 days over the following notification. The payable the rate with the applicable the merging road consisting of the merger with the make of the market rate with those previously attributed cars. If the merging road have the mixture and negotiated rate for the end dates with the end dates and the attributed rates for the same car, negotiated rates for the end dates will be applied. 2. If a new railroad creates that through a merger, the merger railroad must notify the AR in 60 days of the for the merger date. Payable the rates to elect the apply with the new railroad at any time of the merger railroad must also state with the possible responsible negotiable rights merge properly with the consent of the party of the merger roads until the merger date. The AR will then notify other railroads of the election. New railroads must choose to pay the payable rates upon the merger railroad except A. Rates previously paid for the railroads did not choose and no longer apply unless the car had a rate of the end date with the rates of the end dates will continue to apply with the merged property. If each of the merging roads have the rates of the day of the effective in the same car, the car owner will determine the rates for the dates apply on the day of the merger. The AR will provide the car owner and the listing of the cars with the multiple rates at the end of the days for the same car. The car owner must respond to the AR within 15 days for the notification of the AR. If the car owner does not respond to the AFR of the following notification, the payable rate application for the merger railroad after the merger will become the rate of the end of the dates. C. Arbitrated rate with the consent of the railroad should be available. The rate of continuous arbitrated rate provided with the merger property due that have their attributed be the same with the cars on the day of the merger. D. Each attributed rate associated with other road mergers continue with the market rate provided the roads with the not attributed rates of the same car of the day of the merger. If each of the merger has attributed in effect with the same car, the car owner will determine the attributed rate will apply with the market rate when becoming effective with the day of the merger. The AR will provide the car owner listing car with where the multiple arbitration dates with the owner of the respond with the AR with the 15 days of the notification of the AR. The car owner does not respond with the AR in 15 days of the following notification with the AR. The rate shown for the new entity to apply with the payable rates will become the market rate for the previous previously attributed car. If the merging railroad does not mixture with the negotiated rate, the end date's attributed rate with the same car, the negotiated rates will end. It will be applied. B. The receivable rates from system equipment only when the merging railroad continues to exist. After the merging, all cars are now owned by the merging railroad will retain previously rate with a receivable purpose. However, the attributed rates on the non-existent railroads will retain the market rates. When new railroads create, all new cars now owned, and the new railroad will retain previous rates with a receivable purpose. However, the attributed rate with the cars owned by the railroad not chosen and payable, the rate will be retained in the market rates. Alright, J. Railroad acquisition payable to receivable car hire rate application. But the railroad is one with a complete acquisition existing railroad. With existing railroad payable to receivable car hire rates will be applicable to the new railroad. If the new railroad formed with a partial acquisition with the existing railroad, with the new railroad payable receiving car hire rates will be the default rate. Alright, Rule 2, calculation of hours and mileage. Hours. When computing the payable time, payable hours, the minutes shall be disregarded. The first hour loaded with the empty cycle shall be disregarded. The payment may be at least the last hour of the load of the empty cycle. The car received delivered with the same hour accurate with no time short. For the calculation purpose of the day of the daylight saving time begins and should be considered as having 24 hours. Miles. Line haul mileage was computed each with the load with the empty movement in the cycle of the days of the actual line hauls. C. Record source. For the interchange of the records receipt, delivery of under this rule shall be obtained with the reports provided in the Rule 9. Other cycles of event with the required records shall be the rule that be obtained with the payment records. Who's that? Alright, miles. Line haul mileage will be computed with each of the load empty move cycle on the basis of the actual line mileage. Record source. Interchange record receipt of delivery under this rule shall be obtained with the reports provided within Rule 9. Other cycle events recorded within this law under this rule shall be obtained with the paying roads and records. Load cycle should begin with the earliest load events, load receipt, load release, load inbound, outbound, and movement, etc. The empty cycle should begin with the earliest empty event, empty cycle, empty release, empty inbound, empty outbound movement, and back to empty load cycles will be reported secure. Separate cycles. Question: how should the cycle span more than 1 month settled? Answer: for the car of the handy end of the month of the car shall be reported for the last hour of the month, even though the cycle has not been completed with the subsequent month. Reporting shall begin within 0 hour. Rule 3, reporting settlement procedure record retention. General applicable to all carriers. Cars separated by the individual car's individual load. Empty cycle is defined in Rule 2. The must report with the car owner, person or company single address, whom the reporting marks are assigned within 1 month and 10 days for the last day of the month in which for the earliest which is earned, including the cars on hand at the end of the month and the cars ending in the 0 rate car hire shall be reported indicating the hours and miles earned but no amount. When a distance with the result of the record subsequently received and not reported to the car owner, correct the rates within 2 months and 10 days after the last day of the month which is earned. Total hourly mileage earnings included a prudency shall be increased 15%. A car hire charge will be allowed on cars with outside of the rule for the repair until surface line. The idea will accept the providing cars rule hire 7 and 8. Time portion of cars hire allowed with an error deducted with the cars hire reports for forwarded within 2 months within 10 days of the day of the mileage portion within 5 months of the 10 days of the last day of the month the car was reported this having been earned without requesting authority of the car's owner. Deduction shall not be made within those periods without authorization of the car owner. 5. The cars reported subsequently deducted in accordance with the rules containing such cars hire and relieve the owners in the same position if the car hire had never been reported. 6. A railroad owner prudencies may be designated with a non-railroad owner for the car being bearing a prudencies as the agent of the equipment owning. 7. Only one of the transmission reporting shall be furnished each month. In order to make an appropriate adjustment of the audits, the railroad shall be recorded necessary to support all the car hire and payments of the 3 full calendar years of the pay in the current year. B. The Association of Railroad Car Hire Data Exchange Participants. The participant of the AAR Car Hire Data Exchange Program will not be required to furnish with other participants to deal with the so many day of the printed car hire report time shown as shown in Appendix G, H, and I. Car hire car submitted with the AAR car hire data in exchange shall be system shall be viewed with the subject of the railroad clearinghouse settlement regulations. Settlement will be based on actual summary records submitted with the exchange system. Car hire data exchange system will furnish the car with the hire summaries amount with the railroad clearinghouse of the 19th of the month in which the car hire data exchange of the motor rapid reports issued. If the 19th falls on a holiday or weekend, the car hire summary amounts will be provided with the first business day thereafter. On the following business day, the railroad clearinghouse will notify each of the carrier of its net position. The railroad clearinghouse will administer exchange funds with the first business day after the notification of the net position. Alright, see, non-participation in the AAR car hire data exchange system. If the car hire report is not transmitted with the AAR car hire data exchange system, the receiving the carrier will apply with a $5 per cycle for the handling the charge to cover the administrative costs associated with performing the information and automating processing. 2. Carrying not appropriate participation in AAR car hire data exchange system must report the car hire from the form 8.5 inches by 11 inch minimum 3.25 inch binding space at the left hand side as shown in Appendix G, but the report shall cover the number in full with the sum of the number of the sequence car must be reported in individual load for the empty cycle for each of the car for each of the settlement period. 3. Cars participating in the AAR car hire data exchange system must report the car hire with a support summary form an 8.5 by 11 inch with a minimum 3/4 inch binding on the left hand side, but the report shall with the car hire tire to prudency charge with the proclaimed miscellaneous other charges that show in the same report as the Appendix A. The car hire summarized separately some of current month only voluntary month and prior allowances. Carriers not associated from participating in the AAR car hire data exchange must report on omissions on the adjustment with the report of same size, same binding space, and provided with the car hire report in Appendix G as shall be provided and shown in the Appendix I. Penalty shall not include Appendix I. Adjustment reports shall be shown based in space provided in Appendix H. With adjustment more than one earnings month shall be shown with the following sheet beginning with the allowance each month for the first line identifying earnings month and year followed by the individual color listing the numerical sequence followed by identifying the earning month for the year of the next group of allowances. The time of the portion of the car hire allowed in the year may be deducted from the car hire reports forwarded in 2 months in 10 days of the mileage portion, within 5 months and 10 days from the last day of the month of which the car was reported and having been earned without the request of the authority for the car owner's deduction shall not be made after those periods without authorization with the car owner, subject with the procedure with those described and show the additional adjustment. Appendix I should also be used with the deduction. Deductions must not be on the same sheet in addition. The car hire not submitted with the AAR car hire data exchange system will be settled, but the car owner settlement will be based on summary information. Appendix H. The exchange funds will occur on and before 21st of the month of the reports are issued. The 21st falls on a holiday weekend will occur on the next business day. Alright, Rule 4, exemption of charge revenue bill with empty cars. For empty cars handled under the revenue bill line with the haul and switching service of the car hire cost for the revenue bill with the cost cycle to respond for the car marker owner. Assignment of car hire liability. The AAR car hire Rule 4 process of identify empty revenues listed cycles based on the standard transportation commodity code or transmitted with the rail incorporated electronic identifying interchange 417 waybill transaction order eligible to relief. The handling the car hire must be submitted the electronic data interchange 417 bill transaction rail incorporated. 2. The following commodity codes will be designated empty revenue shipments. 37420 series and some other numbers. A train 28 message will be created and signed with the car hire liability revenue empty cycle with the bill on the car maker owner invalid. To the mark the car owner. Invalid relief. The investigation developed the cycle must properly identify empty with the revenue cycle. The car marker owner will be allowed to reclaim the car hire due to the cycle of the handling of the car carrier receiving the consensus from the handling of the carrier. The reclaim shall be conducted. The outlaying of the reason for the reclaim shall be signed by the earning of the carrier review. The carrier will be handled in the provision of Car Rule 13. Alright, we're going to read rule number 5 and cut the tape. Rule 5, switching car hire expensive recovery. Terminal switch service of the car and base for the actual time involved for the handling each of the load, the unloading terminal switch of the service of the month wise for the cars as accrued subject to a maximum of 120 hours per switching event. Shall be responsible for the car road for the switching service to perform provided with the terminal switching road reports required in paragraph E for the carrier road car owner with the V for the AAR train. 2. Immediate switching blocking and for the car hiring on the base for the actual time involved and within handling each of the load of an empty car immediately switching blocks for the service in which the car car accrued with the subject the maximum 24-hour switching block event with the responsibility of the carrier load providing intermediate switching blocking road report required information paragraph E for the carrier road for the car owner for the V for the AAR train 2. Cars on the higher base for the actual time involved with the handling each for the load for the empty car intermediate switching strip within which the car accrues within the subject with the maximum 24-hour switching event shall be responsible for the carrier owner road with the receipt of the performing terminal switching services provided the intermediate switch load reports required in paragraph E the responsible car road and car owner via the AAR train 2. C. The unit train and multiple car services. The car hire actually a car accruing on each for the car moving the unit of the train multiple car shipments subject to the maximum set forth in A and B with the handling and switching. They shall be responsible for the carrier road for the switching service that perform provided individual switching road reports requiring information paragraph E the responsible carrier road or car owner V with the AR train 2. D. Intermediate switching service. The car and hire on each for the hand and the intermediate internal terminal switching services shall be responsible for the carrying and performing the service. E. The road reporting requirements of the road performing the switching services will require the report via the AR train 2. Car initial car number loaded, empty status station type of the switching terminal intermediate to the carrier which the service was performed as well as the car owner for the information that each for the car is also reported as follows. Inbound terminal switching. The month and the day of the time the loaded is received and as evidence for the official interchange with the created with the LCI limited LCI processing month, date, and time of the reach from the inbound evidence for the demurrage record month, date, and the time of the 120th hour, whichever the activity occurs first in the day of the time release of the inbound load does not exceed 120th hour. Also report the month, date, and the time of the empty delivery in advance. Evidence of initial interchange created with the LCS processing month and date and the time of the 120th hour loaded and received an evidence of the official interchange created with the LCS with the H actively occurred with the first for cars reloaded diverted into the hall subject to the report month, date, and time of release of the inbound evidence for the demurrage record of the month and day and the time of the 120th hour, whichever that occurs first one rather than delivery data. Cars owned and by which the home and switching road report month and date and the time loaded received the evidence and official interchange created by the LCS processing month and date and time released for the inbound loaded the evidence for the demurrage record month, date, and time of the 120th hour, which actually occurs first. Outbound terminal services for all the cars with the report month, date, and the time loaded for delivery evidence for the other official interchange created by the LCS reporting that anything without the outbound act such activity additional reporting events and either start or change cycle status is required for the cars owned by the home switching service the report date, the name, time of the release for the last loaded evidence demurrage 120th hour proceeding with the loaded delivery created with the LCS processing whichever occurs later. For cars ownership with respect to within car hire rule 22 and car hire rule 23, report for the month, date, and time of the car placement loading evidence with the demurrage car with the record of 120 hours per procedure loading delivery evidence official interchange created with the LCS processing whichever occurs first. Or B. Also, the report date and the time of the month is released locked loaded in as evidence damage garage report relevant release event that occurs with after the event with the report in 2A for the cars with the foreign ownership received if they either empty or loaded line haul strip with the subsequent load in the switch service may report month, date, and time of the cars of the previous of the longitude loading evidence of the demurrage recorded with the 120 perceived official loaded delivery created with the LCS processing which occurs later. B. Also, the reports of month, date, and time of the release of loaded evidence the demurrage report with the release event occurs after the report of the 3A. 4. The car's on foreign ownership reloaded with the switching service A, the report on the date and time of the car released from the inbound load with the evidence for the inbound load for the demurrage for the record of 120 hours preceding the official loaded delivery created through the LCS processing whichever occurs later. B. All reports on the date and time of the release located in the evidence demurrage after the release occurs from the event and reported in 4A. 5. For all other cars report the month, date, and time of the empty recycled evidence for the official interchange created through the LCS processing at 120th hour preceding the official load delivery created through the LCS processing, whichever occurs later. B. Also the report date and time of the car release loaded evidence demurrage if the result release event occurs after the event reported in 5A. C. Intermediate switching block service the month, date, and time of sheet evidence for the official interchange created with the LCS processing the month and date interchange delivery evidence for the official interchange created through the LCS processing month, date, and time of the 24-hour whichever occurs first. 2. Reporting time limit. The road performance switches that must report the information required in E1 not before 6 days and 25 days after the day of the switching service is complete, except for the inbound terminal switch as in described in E1A, exceeds the 120 hours the official outbound inbound interface with the clarity of the LCS processing the information reported not more before 6 days, no more within 25 days from the date of that time ends for the transfer liability. B. Failure to report within the time limit. The 2A shall cover the road performance switch services to the reliable car, all car hire, or such cars with switching services. F. Errors, transfer, and liability, or TOL reclaim. A special reclaim of the issue with the terminal or intermediate switching service to recover the car hire following service non-issue legitimate switching service exemption and specified freight mandatory rules on car hire liability transfer and carrier switching car charge being issued to errors and report of locking activity. 2. The prescribed default time, whichever is applicable, must be even the reclaim. 3. Each of the special reclaims should be prepared on a form similar to shown in Appendix A and must not be represented with a handle limit that's prescribed in Rule 13b. The reclaim does not include the car hire data exchange tape using no financial records. Alright, interpretation. When the reporting with the transfer liability for the terminal switch activity more than 120 hours between the interchange of the event with the other event would normally be used directly cycled between the load and empty with the load empty system will be reported and to report the entire transfer liability one load cycle. Upon completion with the switch move of the switch carrier off the other offers the cars move them receiving the car of the carrier of the applicable the car of the Rule 5 through Rule 15 or Rule 5 and Rule 15 transfer liability to be determined. Answer. Rule 15 portion is created with the retreating of the Rule 15 offering the time delivered with the Rule 15 protect for the period of time offered for the official delivery created through the LCS process. Alright, Rule 6, Provision Audits. Authority Railroad of the AR audit system will have the right to conduct independent audits for the verify the compliance with the code of the higher rules. Audits are conducted by the railroad and are against the other railroad records of the railroad. Internal audits of their own records are covered in the car or higher Rule 6. 2. AR audits will be permitted within a period of not exceeding 36 months before the most current surface of the month reported with the Rail Incorporated via the CHGX. However, the audit will be requested that the railroad audits may be initiated to recover the permanent with the period not exceeding 24 months. The most current surface of the month available at the time of the audit was requested withstanding time limit referred in the car hire rule service. For the purpose of the paragraphs requested, it shall mean the date within the audit of the railroad or the AR request for the written within occurrence. B. The pre-processing guidelines. When the AR audit staff is determined with the railroad in compliance with the car hire rule, with such railroad can choose to restore the data collected with the deficiency potentially affected the rails. In such case, having up to 6-month receipt with the reprocessed data, the allowance to request an independent audit. If the road is to reprocess the data is correct deficiencies covered in the AR audit staff of the equipment, the assets, equipment will review the magnitude of the deficiency reported presented in the AR audit report on the road position reporting, refusing to correct the deficiency deemed necessary for the audit under the provisions Appendix L, but the entire audit will be made of the deficiency road. Alright, payment guide. A road receiving the audit report provided the rule with the existing audit to conduct with the sampling base for the will allow the net amount of the audit without exemption for 3 months receipt of the penalty provided with the Rule 3A2 must also be added with the net amount allowed. The rule electing not to represent the data requesting the AR audit staff will not be given the credit over payments to forfeit the future deduction to offset amount of the requested audits to be performed in it. Rule 7, Reclaiming damaged equipment, handling line responsibility. Reporting requirements. When a car is destroyed or badly damaged, the handling carrier must report the damage to the car marker owner that specify the AR interchange Rule 107 and using the AR damaged defective car tracking system. B. Assignment of the car hire liability. The AR damaged defective car of the tracking system will interact with the liability continuing system to assign the car hire liability via the official of the liability continuation system interchanges. Requesting settlement value of the disposition. Settlement value of the disposition shall be requested to provide with the damage defective car tracking system, or the request for the settlement value of the disposition provided in 15 days for the car hire liability to transfer the marker owner of the liability continuing system interchange with the speed with the marker of the DVRS. DVR7 provided with the requested information after the date will return the car liability to handling the liability continuation system interchange for the car with special marked road DVRS. Acceptance settlement value. Once for the car marker owner, handling carrier authorized settlement of the damaged defective car tracking system. The limited liability continuation system will transfer the car hire liability handling car carrier car items to the car marker owner of the interchange car of the special road dead. When the settlement is made, the liability continuation system makes mark of the future events for the cars are inactive. The purpose of the car hire liability. Acceptance of the settlement value. If the settlement value is not accepted, the handle carrier retains the car hire liability. No car hire process continues. F. Shop time. Shop time will be responsible for the car marker owner. Shop time under this rule will be done with the view of the liability continuation system interchange to and from the shopping and the special road marker SPH. SHP 7. Limited liability continuation system provides shop time beginning with both of the following. The car has been ordered to the shop. Interchange to the shop has been reported to the Viva the train 2. Limited liability continuing system shall verify the shop determining the following occurs. The repair complete with the mark reported to the car marker owner. Their very repairs of all damaged defective car tracking systems. Intermediate cars, the limited liability continuation system transfer higher responsibility marking order interchange with a special road mark DSP during transportation intermediate carriers to the shop at the marking home using limited liability continuation system interchange. 2. Limited liability continuation system transferring car hire responsibility marker only intermediate carrier with the interchange with the car for the special road mark DSP 7, but the intermediate carrier also shown by the following events for the car remains an intermediate with the cars more than 720 hours or 30 days. Car changing load empty staff at the time with the intermediate carrier. Alright, Rule 8. Reclaim the defective equipment owner's responsibility. I'm going to cut the tape.